The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. The 17 SDGs are integrated. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic and environmental sustainability. Countries have committed to prioritizing progress for those who are furthest behind. The SDGs are designed to end poverty, hunger, AIDS, and discrimination against women and girls. The creativity, know-how, technology and financial resources of society are necessary to achieve the SDGs in every context.
Eradicating poverty in all its forms remains one of humanity's greatest challenges, most significant challenges facing society. While number of people living in extreme poverty dropped by more than half between 1990 and 2015, too many are still struggling for the most basic human needs. As of 2015, about 736 million people still lived on less than $1.90 a day. Many lacked food, clean drinking water and sanitation. Rapid growth in China and India has lifted millions out of poverty, but progress has been uneven. Women are more likely to be poor than men because they have less paid work, education, and own less property. Progress has also been limited in other regions, such as South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, which account for 80% of those living in extreme poverty. New threats brought on by climate change, conflict and food insecurity mean more work is needed to bring people out of poverty. The SDGs are a bold commitment to finish what we started and end poverty in all forms and dimensions by 2030. This involves targeting the most vulnerable, increasing essential resources and services, and supporting communities affected by conflict and climate-related disasters.
Tremendous resources, but unequal access and inefficient handling leaves millions of people malnourished. If we promote sustainable agriculture with modern technologies and fair distribution systems, we can sustain the whole world's population and make sure that nobody will ever suffer from hunger again. Good health is essential to sustainable development, and the 2030 Agenda reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of the two. It considers account-widening economic and social inequalities, rapid urbanization, threats to the climate and the environment, the continuing burden of HIV and other infectious diseases, and emerging challenges such as non-communicable diseases. Universal health coverage will be integral to achieving SDG 3, ending poverty and reducing inequalities. Emerging global health priorities not explicitly included in the SDGs, including antimicrobial resistance, also demand action. Since 2000, there has been enormous progress in achieving the target of universal primary education. The total enrollment rate in developing regions reached 91% in 2015, and the worldwide number of children out of school has dropped by almost half. There has also been a dramatic increase in literacy rates, and many more girls are in school than ever before. These are all remarkable successes. Progress has also been challenging in some developing regions due to high poverty levels in poverty-armed conflicts and other emergencies. In Western Asia and North Africa, the ongoing armed conflict has seen an increase in the number of children out of school. This is a worrying trend. While Sub-Saharan Africa made the most significant progress in primary school enrollment among all developing regions from 52% in 1990 to 78% in 2012, significant disparities remain. Children from the poorest households are up to 4 times more likely to drop out of school than the Gender equality is not only a fundamental human rights, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous and sustainable world. There has been progress over the last decades. More girls are going to school, fewer girls are forced into early marriage, more women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership, and laws are being reformed to advance gender equality. First, to end all forms of discrimination against all women and girls everywhere. Second, to eliminate all forms of violence against all women and girls in the public and private spheres, including trafficking and sexual and other types of exploitation. Third, to eliminate all harmful practices, such as child, early and forced marriage and female genital mutilation. Has been made in increasing access to clean drinking water and sanitation. Billions of people, mostly in rural areas, still lack these basic services. Worldwide, 1 in 3 people do not have access to safe drinking water, 2 out of 5 people do not have a basic hand washing facility with soap and water, and more than 673 million people still practice open defecation. Universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. Second, by 2030, achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all and end open defecation, paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situations. Third, by 2030, implement integrated water resources management at all levels, including through transboundary cooperation as appropriate. Towards Goal 7, with encouraging signs that energy is becoming more sustainable and widely available. Access to electricity in poorer countries has begun to accelerate, energy efficiency continues to improve, and renewable energy is making impressive gains in the electricity sector. Nevertheless, more focused attention is needed to improve access to clean and safe cooking fuels and technologies for 3 billion people, to expand the use of renewable energy beyond the electricity sector, and to increase electrification in sub-Saharan Africa. Universal access to affordable, reliable and modern energy services. Second, by 2030, increase substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Third, by 2030, double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency. Sustained and inclusive economic growth can drive progress, create decent jobs for all and improve living standards. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a historic recession with record levels of deprivation and unemployment, creating an unprecedented human crisis that is hitting the poorest hardest. The United Nations released a framework for the immediate socio-economic response to COVID-19, as a roadmap to support countries' path to social and economic recovery. First, by 2030, devise and implement policies to promote sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. Second, strengthen the capacity of domestic financial institutions to encourage and expand access to banking, insurance and financial services for all. Third, protect labor rights and promote safe and secure working environments for all workers, including migrant workers, in particular women migrants, and those in precarious employment. The SDGs 9, which is Industry Innovation and Infrastructure, is aims to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. The SDG 10 aims at reducing inequality within and among countries. This SDG calls for reducing inequalities in income as well as those based on age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion or economic or another status within a country. The goal also addresses inequalities among countries, including those related to representation, migration and development assistance. Sustainable Development Goal 11 is focused on cities, as more than half of the world's population lives in them. Cities are hubs for ideas, commerce, culture, science, productivity, social development and much more. They have enabled people to advance socially and economically. However, many challenges exist to maintaining cities in a way that continues to create jobs and prosperity without straining land and resources. Therefore, SDG 11 seeks to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and also sustainable by 2030. The SDG 12 aims at ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns. SDG 12 is about promoting resource and energy efficiency, sustainable infrastructure, and providing access to basic services, green and decent jobs and a better quality of life for all. Its implementation helps to achieve overall development plans, reduce future economic, environmental and social costs, strengthen economic competitiveness and reduce poverty. Sustainable consumption and production aims at doing more and better with less, increasing net welfare gains from economic activities by reducing resource use, degradation and pollution along the whole life cycle, while increasing quality of life. Year on record and the end of the warmest decade ever recorded. Carbon dioxide levels and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere rose to new records in 2019. It is affecting every country on every continent. First, strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries. Second, integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies and planning. Third, improve education, awareness raising and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction and early warning. Management of this essential global resource is a key feature of a sustainable future. However, there is a continuous deterioration of coastal waters owing to pollution, and ocean acidification is having an adversarial effect on the functioning of ecosystems and biodiversity. Prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution. Second, by 2020, sustainably manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems to avoid significant adverse impacts, including by strengthening their resilience, and take action for their restoration. Third, minimize and address the impacts of ocean acidification, including through enhanced scientific cooperation at all levels. Human activity has altered almost 75% of the Earth's surface, squeezing wildlife and nature into an ever smaller corner of the planet. Combat desertification and ensure conservation. Insecurity, weak institutions and limited access to justice remain a great threat to sustainable development. The number of people fleeing war, persecution and conflict exceeded 70 million in 2018, the highest level recorded by the UN Refugee Agency in almost 70 years. In 2019, the United Nations tracked 357 killings and First, significantly reduce all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere. Second, end abuse, exploitation, trafficking and all forms of violence against and torture of children. Third, promote the rule of law at the national and international levels and ensure equal access to justice. On global partnerships and cooperation. Official development assistance remains steady but below target. At $147 billion in 2017. While humanitarian crises brought on by conflict or natural disasters continue to demand more financial resources,